Hi, I'm Chantel Cohen, and increasingly I've been asked about open versus closed relationships. Years ago there were such thing as open relationships, but those were called swingers. And we're talking about something that's a little bit different. And so first I'm going to talk about the traditional closed relationship, and I'm going to talk about the open relationship, and I'm going to just give you some tips to help you navigate through whether your relationship is open or closed. So let's talk about the former, closed relationship. What is a closed relationship? Oftentimes people say it's one where they don't sleep with other people, or that they don't give their emotional energy to someone else, or that it means that it's a relationship that is going to lead towards really strong commitment like marriage, or children. So knowing what your partner wants and what they expect is super important. Don't assume anymore, guys. Maybe 20 years ago, we could assume that, but not anymore. So having the conversation is really important. Obviously, there's an appropriate time to have it. Usually, I'd say 2 to 3 months into the relationship, and that's a guesstimate. It depends on the intensity of the relationship. Let's say you guys met, you're dating, 6 weeks in, it really feels like you've got this relationship where there are strong feelings, you're spending most of your nights together, obviously you have a sexual relationship. You want to know, is it open or closed? And so it may start off as, okay, we've got a monogamous relationship that for now is going to be closed. You may want to pick it back up later. Don't assume that just because you talk about it in the midst of when you guys are in what I call the montage of relationships where it feels like you're frolicking through the fields and you only want to look into each other's eyes. Know that for some people, that is a stage that they love, but they're not so into the long term. Maybe they don't want to be around for 7, 8 years, or if they do, they may need an open relationship. So it's really up to you. But what I'm saying is define it. Define it. You'll know the moment, whether it's 6 weeks in or 3 months in, but it's worth talking about again. What does being in a closed relationship mean to you? So that you each have an understanding. And this is where strong communication comes into play, guys. It is so vitally important to know what your partner expects. And then think about an agreement. If one of you's on the fence and you've decided for the time being you're going to have a closed relationship, then let's agree to talk about it maybe a year, 2 years from now, or have something set in place that if you feel like you'd like the relationship to be open, we need to talk about it before you move into a relationship or having something physical with someone else. That is so vitally important. It may be uncomfortable to talk about. You may be one of those couples, for example, in my own relationship, I've been married for 25 years and we've had a closed relationship. We knew what that meant. We established it pretty early, that we didn't want to date anybody else. And then once we got married, that was it. Our lines were, everything is closed here. But that doesn't mean that has to be the way for everyone. You get to define what you want in your relationship. And guys, there are no wrong or right or good or bad. I know that some people out there may feel that this is sinful, and it's not my job as a therapist to judge that. I help my clients have the life that they want. And so with that started, I'm not trying to offend anyone, but we're going to talk a little bit about a closed relationship and what that means. So what I want you to think about with a closed relationship that's very, very different from what I want you to think about in terms of a closed relationship versus an open relationship is the open relationship. You think your communication has to be great on a closed relationship, it has to be even better with an open one. Because the probability for things going wrong are much higher, that your partner can become triggered. So you want to establish, what does an open relationship look like? Does it look like one where you go on dates with other people? Or does it mean that you don't really get to know anyone emotionally, and this is something that is strictly an intimacy thing or a sexual thing? You have to decide that, and then even set the ground rules around that. And since I'm on social media, I can't say too much about those ground rules, but you know what I'm talking about what's allowed and what isn't. What seems like a breach of the relationship? Is this somebody that, if you have an open relationship, is this something that you do together or you do separately? There are so many ground rules to this. And believe it or not, some couples have an open relationship and then they go to a closed relationship, depending on if they have children. So it may open and close. And what does that look like? When is it okay? When is it permissible for us to have an open relationship if you're one of those couples that goes back and forth? And what's the data or the criteria to say that moving forward is okay? Do we have something where we talk about it with each other? Or do we have something where we say, hey, you've got some code words, or you don't talk about it at all? Believe it or not, there are some couples that are don't ask, don't tell. So this is really important, that your relationship be super strong, and that I would even say get the rules in writing, so that if one of you, they're almost like bylaws, if you will. If you are not sure, but you've got a kind of a don't ask, don't tell, man, those bylaws really come in handy. Also know that if there ever is a breach of the foundation or the bylaws that you two have put together, you have to have a means of talking about it. Because once things become secret, then trust is not there anymore. And believe it or not, guys, just because you have an open relationship doesn't mean that trust is so easy. It's not. It's hard for everyone. And so I even see couples who have open relationships where the trust can be breached. It can be something small as having a flirtation with that person outside of the confines or the parameters that the two of you have established. I hope this has been helpful. And of course, I don't want to offend anyone, but I want to challenge the folks who are questioning this to be curious, to talk about it, to set parameters. Don't shy away from talking about it with your partner, because ultimately it's going to make your relationship that much stronger. I'm Chantel Cohen, and I help couples, whether they have open or closed relationships, become one again. I'll see you guys soon. And happy fall. It's finally here. Bye.